Good morning and welcome to the first edition of Maritime Africa Live this year. We couldn't close this month dedicated to women's rights without a special program dedicated to women in the maritime sector. And to do so, I have with me my dear Obinma Oby-Aku. Good morning, Obinma.
Good morning, Mr. Carter. Thank
Yes.
you. Maritime
How are you?
Africa.
Yeah.
I'm very fine. Thank you.
It's always a pleasure to have you on our program. And today I will let you introduce all our guests. So
Okay.
you have the
Thank you
floor.
very much. Thank you very much. My name is Oby-Aku. I'm the founder of MeetPoint, a professional platform for maritime executives to meet up and liars and do business together. So I'm just going to dive into the deal of the day. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed viewers, welcome to today's broadcast where we will be diving into the most paramount subject of the year, inclusion of professional women, maritime professional women in the industry. And the women we have today on our guest list are one of the brilliant maritime women you can ever have in any program. So with us today, I'm going to be introducing them one after the other. Dr. Ifesinachi. She is beyond words what I can describe, but I'm going to allow her talk about herself before we then move on forward. And the second person, I'm going to introduce someone at the very end. So let me do this first before okay, let's continue because we don't have so much time. I would love to introduce to the broadcast, Madam Rowley, Madam Rowley's MACFOY. Please can you bring your own stage? And the third person on this broadcast, you're welcome. You're so welcome, Madam. I've been looking forward to having you on a show with us. She is a remarkable individual. Seriously, you want to meet her personally. I'm looking forward to us having like a West African conference where everyone will come together. And the last person on this broadcast I'd really like to introduce is a global icon. I think she's the busiest person. I want to thank God for bringing us here today. And a lot of things went on backstage, but she was kind enough to pardon us. Madam Gina Panayiotou, you're very welcome, Madam. I'm so excited to have you on this broadcast today. Thank you so much for forgiving all the errors, and thank you everyone for being here today. Mr. Collins, we would really like everyone to introduce themselves, and as we have various broadcast review for every of our guests today, we're going to be starting with Madam Gina. Can you speak to us about or your impact in the maritime industry as a brilliant participant in major maritime sector duties in the industry? Thank you.
Firstly, it's an honor and pleasure to be here. Of course, especially on such a great occasion where we're giving time to have discussions about women in maritime. Especially today's focus, I understand, is security, and I'll be speaking a bit from the more general view. So I just a few words about me. I'm the chair of the World ESG Forum. It's like a think tank on environmental, social, and governance across the industry. A big part of what we do under the social pillar is, of course, gender equality. So I don't know, Bima, if you want to ask some specific questions, but yeah, thanks again for the invite, and I'm very happy to be here. Women empowerment is a big thing for me. I'm for WISTA, UK, and sit on the WISTA International Environment Committee. So yeah, it's an absolute pleasure to be here amongst distinguished panelists.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the brief intro. We're going to be bringing on Madam Dr. Ifesinachi. Please can you speak to us and tell us about yourself, tell the audience about yourself. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ifesinachi. I am a lecturer at the School of Geography and Sustainable Development at the University of St. Andrews. My area of specialization is on oceans governance and maritime security, and it's really a pleasure to be here, and I look forward to the conversation I'm going to have with everyone.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that brief intro. We're going to be bringing on Madam Roland McFord. Please, Ma, can you tell us a brief intro of yourself? Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is ROLLENS. I am the president of, oh my God, this is cool. Okay. I am the president of Women in Maritime Africa Nigerian chapter, and I am the CEO of Ocean Deep Maritime Services Limited. Ocean Deep Maritime Services is a company that manages vessels. So we have about 10 vessels under our management, and then inclusive of 4 VLCCs. So, and I am personally, I'm passionate about seafarers and every other thing probably that is related to blue economy, because I'm a specialist in maritime security, cabotage, and maritime labor mediation. So, a couple of other things. We have a maritime academy, Ocean Deep Maritime Academy, which takes all the STCW courses as required by IMO. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the brief introduction. And I think I'm getting to know you the more. And I'm very grateful for having the very best of the professionals in the industry in this podcast. So we're going to dive into the questions for today. So first on our list is Madam Dr. Ifesinachi. What are the significant relationships between the inadequate and the adequate security within the African region, Guinea, and the Red Sea? We know that you have a very large, or rather, I would say, broad knowledge about maritime security because you are an academia in the industry. So we, the audience, myself, Maritime Africa, and the world wants to know what your views and your opinions and the only studies that you've done about maritime security on the significant relationship that are adequate in the maritime industry. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to ask you to repeat the question because I didn't quite get it. Sorry. Could you repeat the
Okay,
question, please?
sure. What is the significant relationship between inadequate security system or governance within the maritime route in the Gulf of Guinea and the Red Sea? Try to make it a bit simpler.
I'm gonna try, but the question isn't clear if I'm honest. But I don't know if you want to
Oh,
type it.
I think
okay.
Obinma, we have some problem with your microphone. I think it's the
Oh,
connection. So, Dr. Ifesinachi, what Obinma wanted to know is there any relationship between maritime security in the Gulf of Guinea and the Red Sea?
Okay, yeah. So thank you so much for the question. I guess you could say that maritime security it's a global concept. So if you're talking about as security as the removal of threats, then maritime security for the Gulf of Guinea and the Red Sea, Gulf of Aden, or anywhere else in the world, Sulu and Celebes seas, for instance, would be the removal of threats from the oceans, threats that undermine the safety of seafarers, threats that undermine the effective movement of goods. But in terms of the relationship between security threats in the Gulf of Guinea and the Red Sea as we know it, I do not feel that there's any relationship presently due to the context is different. If we're talking about the current insecurities in the Red Sea and the way it is presenting themselves. So, for instance, in the Gulf of Guinea, we could talk about pirates land robbery at sea as issues that are not necessarily political, issues that are more or less linked to criminal network and people that want to take advantage of the volatility of maritime law enforcement in the Gulf of Guinea to make some money. In contrast, when you talk about the current security issues in the Red Sea, it is, in my mind, absolutely political, even though one could sort of construe it as mirroring piracy. Um, the context and the motivations are different. The motivation is not the same as the motivations for the criminals in the Gulf of Guinea whose interests are more or less around getting ransoms. In the Red Sea, the current threats, I believe, is more political and has to do with the Houthis and the animosity, or should I say, their grievance over what is currently happening in Gaza, and they feel that this is their way of sort of getting global attention to that issue, at least some of the pronouncements that they have made. So I feel that we can't necessarily compare the current security situation in the region or the security situations in the region, in the two regions, because their context is different, the motivations are different. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. That was very insightful. That was really very insightful. So we're going to get to Madam Rollins, Madam MACFOY, quickly as we would get back to, I believe we can all hear me clearly. My channel is clear. Okay, Madam MACFOY, can you hear?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, thank you very much. Would like you to answer this question on the broadcast review, if you can hear us clearly.
Go ahead. I'm trying to listen to the question.
Okay, okay. With your expertise and large knowledge in the industry, can you tell us the measures that the IMO has been able to put forward in ensuring that there is a reduced insecurity within the ocean and within the maritime industry? I'm trying to make the question very simple. Yeah.
I think that basically, I think there is noise somewhere. Okay, so basically, if you want to talk about maritime security in the sea and all that, is domesticated with each country. The measures, the IMO cannot and does not specifically put measures, but we all know in this industry that there are risks and threats all over the sea. So it now depends on each country. After the advent of the maritime security in 2012, it now depends on each country to see what they can do upwards to the about 200 nautical miles or more than that, so that their efforts could merge with the efforts of neighboring countries and boundaries in order to eradicate the threats and the dangers of that looms around or impedes blue economy. In that area, I think Nigeria, the Maritime Authority in Nigeria, NIMASA, I think have been on top of it, even with aircraft, with all sorts of security boats. And that is why, as at last year, we had almost zero threats or zero events, negative events in the seas or in the water. So maritime security came to be in 2012 and was domesticated by all countries that are involved in the blue economy or in the sea economy. And so it is now left for each country to pick the security issues surrounding that country up and now look for a way to combat it. And that's what Nigeria has done. And that's what NIMASA, Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, Nigerian Authority for Maritime, have done. And they call it the, and I think they have done so well because we have aircrafts, security aircraft, we have security boats, we have tugboats, all sorts parading Nigerian waters, and we had zero incident last year. This year, we've not had any incidents, and kudos to them. That's what I think every country should do, or every maritime authority in every country should do.
Thank you very much. I would like to say big kudos to Nigeria. Seriously, I took my time to read about this, and I think you are absolutely right, Madam MACFOY. I'd like to say this to our audience. Over 5,000 maritime ships fly for 7 sea routes, and there've been tremendous incidents across the world, but the ISO container traffic is more or less back to its previous level. There are more than 200 million containers moving involving the USA alone. And world sea trade is expected to increase significantly over the next few years. Cruising on the IC is booming and the industry is expanding despite the challenges that has been within late last year into the beginning of this year. But we are going to be diverting into the impact that women in the industry has been able to 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 do. Like to women in the industry has served so largely. That's why we have women like you here. We have you, Madam MACFOY, we have you, Dr. Ifesinachi, and we have Madam Gina here. Because the industry, the women industry in the maritime industry, the women participation in the maritime industry is doing so well. And I know there are over 100 million women striving to ensuring that there are there is stability within the industry, and we give it to everyone out there that is on this podcast. Madam Gina, Madam Gina Panayiotou, our next question is to you, Madam. We want to know about the brilliant participation of the IMO, women leadership, the women in shipping, their impact to the world. What have they done? We want to find out from you because we know you have one of the toughest influence rather in the industry as regarding women doing what they do in the industry. How has the women in the IMO been able to make such an impact that we know that is going to be affecting the next 3, 5, 10 generation in the maritime industry? Thank you very much.
I think you're still quite muted, but I didn't understand the general idea. I think this over the past few years, there's been a lot of discussions, and since the IMO launched this Empowering Women in Communities Day, if I'm not mistaken, 2017, which was the theme for the year, there's been a lot of focus on the role of women and what they have been doing, which is quite good. Women have always had a very important part in this industry. It's just always been kept in the background, unfortunately. But it's really good to see. I mean, I'm a part of WISTA. For those who do not know WISTA. WISTA is the Women's International Shipping and Trading Association. And this year it actually celebrates 50 years of existence. And it's quite incredible to think that we started with 7 women who got together for a Christmas drink in a pub and decided to do business together. And, 50 years later, we're counting, I think we've got 59 in 59 countries and 4,500 members globally. So that in itself is quite impressive. And then, of course, within the IMO, they've set up the IMO Gender Network. There's close cooperations with their WIMAs, which is also the women in developing countries, a lot of focus on that. Within the IMO Gender Network, there's also mentorship programs where the females are really mentors to the younger generation, whether it be women in diplomacy or in their national delegations and policy making. So there's a lot of waves being made in empowering the women. I mean, our role has always been very significant in different respects. It's just more about giving us that career advancement opportunities. If we're talking about women on board, I think everybody knows that's a big problem with less than 2% women who are seafarers. And that's, of course, down to many reasons, which I think maybe we'll discuss a bit later. But yeah, I mean, our impact on our role is so important because especially now, there's so many issues happening around the world, geopolitical issues. Women have been, acknowledged to deal with situations like this much more effectively. But also on the more commercial side, we need to meet regulations that have to do with the environment and all ESG criteria. And that requires a lot of innovation, which means we need the best talent on board. So it goes without saying that with 50% of the talent being, women, you can't be excluding us from key roles in the industry. So I think that's where our role lies. We can add a lot of value, especially to such a transformative period. That the industry is undergoing.
I used to think that women were just the underbody within the industry, just doing administration until I met few other women in the industry when I joined Winster, Nigeria. Yeah, so I saw a lot of other women that are doing even more than I even thought. And I am so proud. I am so proud to be in the industry. And when I heard of other people's testimony about what they went through, I was like, okay, so whatever I have been through it's just nothing. So that's how I was able to go through all of my challenges and I became stronger. I want to thank us for all of this remarkable lectures and encouragement. In one way or the other, another, we are putting out strength to the younger generation. So we're going to continue on the broadcast on piracy, what piracy is. A lot of people do not really know the intensity of what piracy can do to the industry because the maritime industry without piracy is almost impossible. But there's actually a way to control it, like every one of us is contributed on this broadcast today. And I would like to just point out a few things before we get into other channels of today's broadcast. The challenges of this system, the maritime sector, the governance or the government known in the sea terrorism will only be contained when our seas are properly our sea policies are properly applied in every country, as Madam MACFOY said. They need to have structures and the need to put up structures that will make maritime security capable to sustain itself needs to be also applied. But regional and extra-regional countries need to understand the essence of this security bridges being crossed within the industry. And yes, we have seen countries like Nigeria. I'm super proud to be Nigerian. Countries like Nigeria, last year we had zero interferences with our trade. And we want the world to hear this part of what we are doing, right? Madam MACFOY, we want the world to know that Nigeria is doing greatly also. And I know that there are other countries within the world that is also doing well. Okay, there are frontline countries and there are frontline institutions that are also ensuring that the capacity for maritime security is being kept in place. And we want to also acknowledge them in this broadcast. We would go on to see how technology can be applied within the industry. The cruise ship industry sees reason for investing in technology, and the container ship and transportation ship industry also thinks the same. Modern cruising and modern shipping companies are salvaging the essence of IT, apply the application of internet technology, and we are super excited about that. So let's get on the broadcast focus for today. Okay, we're going to start again from the beginning. Dr. Ifesinachi, what has been your experience so far? Can you speak to us about what your experience has been in the industry and what you think the younger generation should do to be better? Thank you, Mom.
Thank you so much for the question. I guess your question relates to what I think, what has been my experience in the maritime sector and what I think the younger generation should do. I think, obviously, being aware as a woman or as a young person of the opportunities that are available in the maritime sector stems from either being educated about it or being around people that know about it. Otherwise, women in particular rarely or barely have an opportunity to actually know that there are so many opportunities or there are so many routes to employment in maritime sector. So for me, I would say that my experience in maritime sector more or less came from my studies rather than being historically from a coastal country, originally from Nigeria, from a Niger Delta state, but I never really felt that there was any connection between myself and my aspiration as a woman and potentially what I would want to be in future and making that connection to the sea because well the assumption automatically you're I guess as a woman is that the maritime sector is very male centric. It is dominated by men traditionally anywhere in the world, not just on our continent. And so the assumption then is that potentially the careers that are available to us is also something that men can only do. The figure Gina cited about the percentage of women that are seafarers also tell you a lot about it because people might not necessarily consider careers as a seafarer or in the maritime sector as the first thing. When it also comes to maritime law enforcement, although we are seeing women in the Navy, in Coast Guards, Marine Police, a lot of the roles that they play are primarily administrative role or mainly administrative role rather than actually roles that allow them to go to sea not because they can't, because we've seen statistics for different agencies within Western Central Africa, and we know that there are women that are in these positions that are able to go to sea, that are actually able to interdict when it comes to security issues at sea. We know that there are women that have had the trainings and therefore are able to make these contributions. But majority of the times, those opportunities are not provided to them because of the assumption that first, training them might be very complex, and two, when they are trained, they could then decide to get married or they could then decide to get pregnant. As such, they would not be able to apply the training that they've been given. Automatically, the assumption then is that it is more convenient to continue training the men. So you see that a gap that already exists in the way that we're educated, in the way that we're not given an opportunity to even learn from the beginning, from childhood, that there are opportunities for us in the maritime sector, is then continued even into adulthood. That we're relegated to the background or we're relegated to administrators because of this example I've given, wherein, because the assumption you're likely to give birth or get married, and therefore the investment that the navies, coast guard, or institutions have put into training you might not necessarily be something that is beneficial for them. For me as an academic, I have then been privileged to, I guess you could say, strengthen my career, not because I didn't have limited opportunities, but because I was just interested in the ocean sector, in the exploration of ocean resources on the African continent, and understanding the nexus between our resources and development and insecurity. And I have more or less educated myself, either through self-paying fees to be able to educate myself, or in instances have had opportunities for scholarship, but not necessarily because my government at the time were investing in educating women or ensuring that women are sort of um, given the opportunity to understand that the maritime sector need them, that they have significant contribution to make in the sector. But things are changing because we're talking a lot more about it. We're also in this space having this conversation, and there are so many agencies and individuals that are women that are doing a lot of great things in the sector, and they're sharing and writing and talking about it through social medias. And this has been, I think, one of the things that I've seen that is a very inspirational way of attracting young people, and also showing them that there are so many opportunities beyond the traditional things they hear about the ocean, things like fishing. There are also other opportunities, like IT and research and security consulting, seafaring, the traditional, and other traditional roles and opportunities, anyways, that they can actually venture into, because many people are doing it now.
Thank you very much. Wow, that's a whole lot. Seriously, it was as though you were speaking my mind. Oh, I really hope that the industry is going to get better, because I have a couple of experiences that whenever I think about them, I just tell myself that the industry will only get better. So we're going to get to Madam Gina to share with us some of the empowering and supportive initiatives and organizations. The world wants you to tell us, expose to us, who are these initiatives, and what are the supportive initiatives that are ready to help the younger generation get to their dream place in the industry. And all there are female seafarers across the world that want to explore within their country. Like are they industries? Are they? I don't use the word industry. Are they initiatives? Are they networks that are ready to help this younger generation do what they do better? Thank you, madam.
Yeah, actually, Dr. She made, sorry about pronouncing your name wrong. It's made a very good point though about she wasn't very aware about all that it's a career option and for her as a woman, and that's something that we are still seeing. So I think it's great that we're starting seeing in the industry initiatives where industry experts go to schools. So there's this program called Adoptership in some countries. I don't know if you've heard of it, where some industry experts through the government delegations would go to schools, and sometimes the captain will go with them. A good friend of mine is a female captain, so she's done that, and that's quite important to reach people at that school age where you can become that prototype and know there's a few opportunities out there. In the UK, for example, the government also runs something called Inspiring the Future, which is something similar, but it's beyond seafaring. So it will also give you, all these other options that now we're seeing in the industry. And again, as mentioned earlier by a fellow panelist, the industry is changing. It's becoming more autonomous. So we need people in tech, we need people in IT, we need analysts. So I think it's quite important to be telling the younger generation there's a lot of opportunities here, and you can be part of an industry which is very purpose driven actually. there's this misconception, unfortunately, that we're the industry that pollutes the world. That's not what we do. We have a very important part in the world, actually, in world trade, and almost everything comes by ship, if not with the most environmentally friendly means of transport. So I think it's quite important to start engaging the younger generations and understanding that, so they can follow a career path in that respect. Now, on what effective strategies I've seen, as I mentioned, locally, there's a few initiatives. The IMO also supports initiatives such as the adoptership, but within companies and organizations and even governments, there can be now discussions on things like positive discrimination, where you are trying to actually actively seek out more women, seek out more younger people. And there's also, of course, the Sustainability Development Goals. The Sustainability Development Goal 5 is fully on gender equality, so you can really put that as part of your business strategy and try and engage people. And I think it's also very important to, for us as organizations, to be fixing this image that the industry has and really showcasing all the excitement that is behind what we're doing and how we're using the oceans and what we do as a sector, which is why I'm actually quite excited to see that the new Secretary General of the IMO is much more active on social media. For example, a few weeks ago, he was on board an icebreaking vessel, and there was a video showing, what this icebreaking vessel does in the Arctics, which, that's quite exciting for the younger generation, because you engage them. These are people that, you need to catch their attention within split seconds on TikTok. So they don't want to see that, the IMO passed a new paper on MAPC 81, which is very important, of course. They want to see the reality of what do we do in this industry? How can we be a part of it? So I think things like that, focusing on our image, getting into schools quite early to give those options to women, but also then Dr. Ifesinachi mentioned she self-funded a lot of her training, which I think is quite important under the umbrella of SDG 5 for governments also and companies to make it a priority to train their women, to empower them also and give them those skills to go into this industry, because we need talent. We need talent on board. We need talent ashore. And I think that's the only way we can really do it.
Right, exactly. I think so too. And thank you for broadening our knowledge about this particular subject. Thank you so much. We're going to get to Madam MACFOY. And can you hear us, Madam? Mr. Carlos, can you quickly unmute her from your end? Okay, while we are, okay, she's here.
Yes, she's back.
Okay.
And Obinma, Obinma.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I would like to ask some question to our guests when you will finish with Mrs. Rollens. Thanks.
Okay. In 2 minutes. Okay, yeah. Madam MACFOY, we would like you to share with us about mentorship. Recently, I know that Nigeria is doing something about mentorship. I was in an event with you about, it was actually, we were actually doing a program to create an awareness for mentorship in Nigeria. We'd like you to speak to us about mentorship. And she, Madam MACFOY, on a Maritime Academic, and I think she has a larger, a bigger stake in influencing or ensuring and a proper influence for mentorship within the maritime industry. So we want to know, how can we encourage more young women or men? Because I realized that on my LinkedIn page, both men and women are coming and asking questions and wanting to find out a lot of things about the industry. So we want to know, our focus is on the women, our gender, female, yes. But we want to know how we can encourage more women, which Madam Gina actually said. Few things about that. but we want detailed information about how this multi-shift program should go because it has to be intentional this time. Like we want the industry to put up intentional structure to ensuring that yes, this information are not as new. So we want to know from your end how how we can encourage more young women to consider this career apart from getting them aware. What are the implementation? What are the specific implementation that should be put in place to ensure these young women stay and not get afraid that okay they might die after they get trained like Dr. Ifesinachi said that the world is assuming that when they're done training the female they'll get married and forget about the training or what you've been taught and all of that. So this assumption is a reality. But we want you to tell us the what are this encouraging implementation that can be kept in online to ensuring that there is retainment to advancing the young women in the sector. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Obinma. I would like to align with Dr. Ifesinachi and Gina. I'd like to align with both of them because when you come to this maritime education, just like they said, I listened to Dr. Ifesinachi when she said she was just searching for, knowledge, information, trying to grow herself and all that, and she got to where she is now. And I think I think Gina also has something very similar to that. She's passionate about what she's doing, and also she's doing research and she's helping out. That's what it actually should be. And exactly what happened to me too, because my first contact about 25 years ago with Maritime was when I have a BSc in public admin and a master's in industrial labor relations, and then of course I got a job in a maritime company, in an oil and gas company, as a facilities coordinator. Later became the HR manager, and I looked close into what they were doing, and I'm like, wow, what is this? And I got interested. That's the story of 25 years now. I got interested. I did not just remain in admin. I was curious. I wanted to know what the ships were, what they do, and all that. I began to search. I began to read. I began to study. I began to go on board vessels. And that's my story. It's a long story, but that's my short story. To the extent that I became a ship surveyor. I'll fly helicopter to the deep seas to go and survey vessels and come back and all that. There has not been any awareness for the young girls, primary, secondary, and even university. So with my experience and what I have seen, and dealing with seafarers, with my experience, what I have seen, and dealing with seafarers in particular, like my company employs about 78 seafarers in different vessels. And that has given me an opportunity to be very close to the seafarers, and also has given me opportunity also to make research that what else can women do? How do I come to help, or how are we going to do it? Then becoming the president of WIMA also brought that awareness into my mind, and I began to carry out the crusade. So what we have been able to do, personally, I wrote a book, Pathway to Maritime Studies, which if you pick up the book, Pathway to Maritime, the second edition is coming out. It's going to be launched in May, last week of May. If you pick up Pathway to Maritime Studies, everything you need to know about education in the maritime industry is there. That book houses about 160 professions in the maritime industry, and how you can navigate into those professions, irrespective of what you have read before, or even when you are just a school cert holder. The book houses everything that you need to know to navigate into the maritime industry. And then on ground, WIMA and myself, because apart from being the president of WIMA, it's my passion. So what we have done is to start our crusade from primary school. We start our crusade from primary school. We go, we talk with them, we take them on excursion to the ports, to the seasides, to some oil and gas companies that have shipping companies. We just to let them see that this is another world. This is what happens. And then from there, we take the crusade to secondary schools also and get them aware and do the same for them. And then not just doing that, we mentor quite a lot of them. And then, of course, my company, like I say, last year and 2 years ago, paid JAM fees for 20 students who are ready to read Maritime. And my company also gives out, today I have about 4 students on our company scholarship at Oceanography, College of Fisheries and Marine Technology, Lagos here. We have, every year we have 4 scholarship students there. And then WIMA also takes part in most of the awareness program. We have, during the IWD day, we prefer doing it with the school students, university, secondary school, especially those that have just 2 years to leave the secondary school, to prepare their mind, begin to mentor them and begin to counsel them, like you have guidance and counseling in most schools. So we play the role of guidance and counseling to help them see that, look, this is here, this is maritime, this is the blue world, and which the blue world that's going to give birth to the green world. If you want to do this, because you just talk to them and you see, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be an accountant, I want to be this, I want to be an IT manager. Yes, you can be everything, and everything can be navigated into the maritime industry. Whatever you can be, a doctor. We need doctors now, honestly. We need a lot of medical people in the maritime industry now, because the maritime industry is moving in another way, because these seafarers have to be catered for, they have to be cared for. Some of them are sick. Now we are moving doctors with or nurses with speedboats or with tugboats to go give the treatment, take care of them, because it's not for every simple thing that you calm down. So we need all that now. So if you're a nurse, if you're a doctor, if you are an economist, whatever you are, if you are interested in the industry, you can navigate into the industry. So there are, like I said, 160 professions. You have the chandlers, you have the protective agents, you have the you have the product surveyors. There are so many. You can major on security, maritime security. You can become a lecturer. So many. So we are trying to carry this crusade, and not just are we doing that. Last year, WIMA sponsored 2 female who had their papers expired because they couldn't get a job in Nigeria because of this, and they had to renew their documents and all that, and they read in Egypt. WIMA and WISTA collaborated to sponsor them to Egypt to go get their papers renewed and come back. And not just did they come back, they came back, and somebody who works in a maritime company in WIMA absorbed them, called them immediately and give them a job. So we are looking for such opportunities. We are looking for such people. All we need is let them talk to us. My company sponsored one of the chief second engineers working with MPA to do train the trainer, because I looked at her. She had a first class in Egypt. She came back and she was absorbed by MPA. I said, you can do more. You can be a resource person to so many other people. And if you don't have a train the trainer, you cannot lecture in maritime this thing. So I said, you need it. She said, Mommy, I don't have the money for now. I said, no, don't worry. My company will sponsor you. And we did sponsor her, and we paid for that in one of the countries. She did train the trainer. And today, at least she's licensed to be able to pass this knowledge on to other younger ones. Not just that, we are in connection with Oron, which is our maritime academy, our foremost maritime academy in the country, and then we also help some students there. So apart from that, we go on a campaign. We go on campaign by the seaside, by the jetties, some of the jetties and all that. You find out that there are some girls just hanging around there. Probably they know how to locally ploy the speedboats and go for fishing and come back. You see that they go for fishing, they come back, they sell just a little because there is no customer. They eat the remaining, or they spoil, or thereby. Why can't such a lady become a quartermaster? Because apart from being captains, we have quartermasters. Why can't such a lady become a professional quartermaster? Wister, shattered the glass ceiling yesterday at the election of Wister, Nigeria. The tenure of the executives were over. I was the Prosy INEC chairperson. We shattered the glass ceiling yesterday. Our vice president is a captain, Captain Idinion, and captain was sponsored by Wister when she went to school. So we've been doing, a lot of us are in WIMA, a lot of us are in WIMA and Wister, and depending on what you have to do, we're just collaborating, we're all cooperating, because this industry, just like Gina said, less than 2%. There is no time for segregation. We know that WIMA is on blue economy. We are going deep into the blue economy, getting the girls that are local fisher women, getting them and teaching them. We gave them ovens last year, and in 2022 we gave them ovens to avoid all that they are getting, just getting spoiled, and then to avoid the smoking of the with the charcoal, which so remote and takes so much strength, takes so much time, and even damages their eyes. We gave them ovens, electric ovens, even modern charcoal ovens that don't use a local charcoal. So their fishes could get dry in less than 1 hour, and the fishes could last 6 months, 7 months if they have quite a lot. They will still sell, but it will not spoil. So we do that, and then not just we do that, then we teach them other methods, and then we bring them to light to tell them that they can associate with the larger bodies to learn more. They can export. Now we have just concluded trying to do export training for them. Export training, so you can export. You're going to the sea every day. You're bringing big fishes, bringing catfish, bringing all sorts of fish, and then it just remains just within the circle of, let me take for instance Liverpool Bridge, which is where we have planned to go and do a sort of campaign. You can export these things to different countries. These are the things that we're trying to tell them, and we realize that the hindrance, the major hindrance that these women have are the fact that, one, for those in primary and secondary school, their parents do not know anything about maritime, let alone blue economy or shipping. So it is our responsibility as an organization or association, a national NGO, to carry this crusade. That is one. Two, we found out that the ones in secondary school feel that, how can I go to the ship? How can it's only men that do it? And we begin to educate them. I have been to the ship severally. I have been on FPSO Mistress. I was on FPSO Mistress, and I did the survey in that year. And as at the time I was on that vessel, it was having, like, let's say 2 barrels that refined like 2 barrels, or 20 barrels of 20 barrels of crude, and you were having you look at, this is the AGO going this way, this is LPFO going this way, and all that. So they can do it. There are so many ways you can do this, even without being in the sea for 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, 10 months. That is what a lot of people are afraid about. And so you can do so many other things. And then, of course, there are the ones that have the heart. Like this captain now, she now works with Shell. She's offshore for so many times. Damilola, like I said, the one that we had to give a trainer. She's in Canada right now. She works with MPA. She's in Canada right now doing another course. And then you, of course, you have the first ASD captain in West Africa. What is one of us too? We had to help her too. And then the company where one of us works sponsored her. She's the first ASD captain. She's on board. So there are women who want to do it. There are some that have brought cases of assault to me or abuse to me, and I followed it up. Because it's my passion. I didn't even need to get any organization. I fought for it and it stopped. So these are the things that we have to do. Then for the ones in universities already, reading economics, reading statistics, reading that, we tell them, if you are interested in the maritime industry, in the blue economy, which surely brings out the green economy, if you are interested, you can navigate. I, for instance, who read administration, who is a professional HR person, and then, of course, industrial labor person, but I navigated. Today, I lecture maritime security. Today, I own a maritime school. I manage vessels. So there's no end to it. There's no end to it. We are tackling it. And it's a gradual thing. But the only problem that we have is that the government seem not to be abreast of this and seem not to be doing anything about it. Being the president of WIMA in Nigeria, I have visited so many African countries on this issue, or on for seminar. I was in Cameroon, I was in Togo, I was in Kenya, I was in Zimbabwe. I've been to so many African countries, South Africa and all that. And I see that Ghana, I see that their government is now coming up. In Ghana Maritime Authority, about 60% are women. As a matter of fact, they have created a quota for women, but Nigerian government is yet to arise to that. In Cameroon, they have a gender desk, maritime gender desk. Ghana, they have a maritime gender desk, and that's the call that I'm bringing to Nigerian government to be sensitive about this. They should just let it be known that it's no longer a male. It shouldn't be a male-dominated industry. Many women are in it. And I think it's a political will, the same political will that that is affecting the female politicians that made it to be that probably out of 150 House of Reps or one thing, and you have just like 10 women and all that. This same political will is still there. But as we are going in the maritime industry, if we go with cooperation, that is why the cooperation of our WIMA, WIMA, and all that, we need a solid cooperation so that we are a voice of the advocate, so that we can come up with one voice. And when we come up with one voice, then we'll be able to do better. And then, of course, our children will be. My daughter is a medical person. She's presently in UK. She's working. She's a medical person. But I've already started grooming her. She's doing some courses in maritime because, of course, she has to. She has to come in somehow.
And you're doing well. Can I just quickly say, because I need I need to go. It's been a pleasure being here. Thank you. Very inspiring. But 100%, I mean, what Ms. Rollens is saying, and it's fantastic. I think that not only we're collaborating, these associations also now really have a voice at the IMO, which I think makes a big difference. But thank you so much for hosting me, for the invitation from Maritime Africa and Obinma, and it was great meeting and being inspired by fellow panelists. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, goodbye.
She has another engagement, so we are going to be letting her out. Mr. Carlos, over to you.
Yes, thank you very much, dear guest. I would like to ask some questions to Dr. Ifesinachi before I'll come back to Mrs. Rollens. Okay, Dr. Ifesinachi, you've said that there are a lot of things that women can do in the maritime sector, but they don't know. If you were to advise women on competencies that they should acquire in order to make their mark in the maritime sector, what will you say?
All right, thank you so much for that question. And I would like to answer it using some of the evidence from a research we completed for the UNODC Global Maritime Crime Program, where we looked at the gendered nature of maritime criminality, just to understand the extent to which men and women are affected by maritime crimes and how men and women are contributing as a menace, but also as a solution to the issues. And what we found is that it's not as, in terms of the potential solution, is not as simplistic as saying that there is a need for more training or there's a need for gender equity and equality. But actually, we need to start from the bottom. There's a need for scholarization of the girl child, the boy child, because it actually starts from that early. So, for instance, when in so many families, when parents are poor and cannot afford to send their kids to school, it's often the case that the boy will be sent to school and the girl
Yes.
is likely to stay at home to help the parents, right? So automatically the boy had the head start. And let's assume that 5 years later, if the family are doing well and they decide to send the girl to school, she is 5 years behind. The
Yeah.
boy is 5 years ahead. By the time they are finishing school and then they get to age of employment, remember, we're saying that we should give space and opportunity for men and women. We're not
Women.
saying you should water down the expectations so that men and women would have the chance. We're saying give everyone equal opportunities so that they can actually be educated enough to be able to contribute. So if we really want to sort of ensure that men and women, actually, so long as the African continent is concerned, I feel that this education needs to happen for not just women but also men, because a lot of our youth do not have a clue in terms of the opportunities that is there in the blue economy sector, in the ocean sector. So it's not a case of, oh, women are completely marginalized. It's actually the case that the education is not there for our youth, both the boys and the girls, to see the opportunities beyond. I don't want to be a fisher, for example, or I don't want to be a seafarer, or I don't want to work in the oil rigs. There are opportunities in IT, cybersecurity. I mean, the potential threats of cybercrime in the maritime sector have meant that actually someone that can ethically hack a system and advise maritime security industries on how to avert future threats is someone that actually could likely be a very important person to be recruited. And so these are skills we know that a lot of African youths have. But do they know that those skills can be channeled towards the ocean sector? Do they know that they might have potential customers in the maritime sector? So my advice to young women or young girls, young boys that are listening, watching, how can they sort of um, prepare themselves to be able to take advantage of some of these opportunities would be for you to start from what you have, start from where you are. Unfortunately, we're at the time or the space where our government are not necessarily doing enough in terms of the funding or opportunities or even sort of supporting our youth to be able to go to those spaces. So I think you need to be able to educate yourself and learn and gain some of this knowledge and then position yourself in such a way that you're telling people, I have these skills, take advantage of it. So we might need to, I mean, my advice to the young girls and young boys, youths that are listening that might be interested in the maritime sector is that there is actually a lot of opportunities that are untapped for you, but you need to explore where these spaces are. You need to educate yourself more. There is a lot of potential opportunities, especially when it comes to, let's say, providing um, access to refrigeration. If we're saying talking about fisheries, for instance, we know that there's a lot of wastage or spoilage in fishing because of lack of electricity, because of lack of preservation. So imagine a scenario where young people can innovate and be able to provide solar powered cooling chain, for instance, at an affordable price. But then they need to be funded. They need support from the government. And so,
Exactly.
wherein this support is not coming, maybe the private sector could step in. For people that are interested in research, they might need to educate and read more about researching and then writing about some of the things they know about. This is actually how you market yourself. You take advantage of the internet, and potentially people would see what you're able to do and then help you or maybe guide you better, because we're still learning. Nobody wakes up in the morning and know everything. So I think the best place to start is start working on yourself, identifying the skills or the skill set that you feel you need to improve on better, and then take advantage of the internet to write about, talk about your interests, and potentially people could then support you to get to where you need to be. And of course, our government need to play their part as well.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ifesinachi, for this answer. My second question is to Mrs. Rollens. I've seen that you are doing a lot in Nigeria regarding mentoring and helping women in this sector. But I would like to know, do you people exchange with other associations in other parts in Africa? Because particularly me, I didn't know that you were doing such a wonderful work in Nigeria. And I don't know if other Maritime, WIMA Africa session or WISTA are doing the same. I would like to know.
Basically, they are doing the same because about 4 weeks ago, WISTA Nigeria gave out 2 boats to 2 communities in Lagos, at Lagos outskirts, to assist them to be able to do what they have to do in fishery. And like I said, Women Nigeria also gave out ovens, fishing ovens, to different communities. And then, of course, I was in Togo last year also, where they ran a training course free for their women. As a matter of fact, the Minister of Marine and Blue Economy in Togo is passionate about women. So they have a quota for women. They have a quota for women. Everything that WIMA Africa does, that is WIMA Togo does, is sponsored by their government. So they are pushing the women very much over there. In Cameroon, I was in Cameroon last year also, and I spoke with quite a lot of them. Their government is coming up, and then several individuals that have, women are coming up to do something for them too. Same with Kenya. So I would say that WIMA, WISTA, AWIMA, WIMUKA, these are the 4 that we have in Africa. We are all in collaboration. And then, of course, in African countries, they are doing the little that they can. But you see, as individuals, like, let me borrow from Dr. Ifesinachi, the government cannot do everything for you. But what the problem is that in Nigeria, the government is not even doing anything at all. So, and then, like what I think, if the government is not doing anything, like you said, the individuals, what are you thinking? You should be able to think, develop yourself, bring out something, bring out a proposal, look at something, put it on the internet, put it in so many places. Okay, like, let's say, for instance, last year, 2 young guys, one built a car, built a Rolls Royce. The other one built, I think, a small aircraft in Nigeria. Both have gone to US now. They've gone. So if your employer, your place of work, your country is not doing anything for you, what if you think you have something boiling in you? Then you have to look for a way to. Can I just tell you something? The first job I got into the maritime industry, when in oil and gas, like I said, 25 years ago, when I began to see what was happening there, I automatically knew that I needed training. I, carved out my niche and I said, okay, I need training for so and so. And it was a very big oil and gas company. And I submitted my paper for training and it was cancelled. It was thrown away. The scenario is not what I should start talking about here. And I looked at it and I told myself, I said, this is a very big challenge to me. Now I know this. I thought doing a HR person by excellence, that was it. But this I know and I want to know more. I had to go to my salary bank. I didn't have enough because I was to do the training in UK. I had to go to my salary bank. I had to ask for loan. They gave me the loan plus the ones I could borrow from my friends. Zoom, off I went to UK to go and do that training and come back. And this is how I was doing until I had to leave from one maritime company to the other, and before I was able to set up my own. And in setting up my own, set up a little place, I felt my brain was working. I was thinking, what do I do? How do I get this? How do I get this? How do I do this? How do I do this? And I kept working, seeing myself as, a practical person. I kept developing things. As a woman, I kept developing. I kept reading, like she said, like Dr. Ifesinachi said. I kept reading. I kept putting some things. I kept trying to study at my level. If I'm trying to do that, then what she's saying is right. The youth. And that's why we are taking the campaign to secondary school, primary school, and universities. What we actually need to teach them now is how to be themselves, how to develop themselves, how to fight out and bring out what is inside of them, how to think outside the box, how to invent, how to do so many things. So you find out that at the end of the day, yes, you need the government input. But if government is not moving, you are moving as an individual. And so you cannot allow somebody to kill your dream and kill your focus. So that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. And my last question is for both of you, and I'm done. Are there some particular qualities that people should try to nurture if they want to work in the maritime sector, especially women?
Some particular what?
Qualities.
Never say die.
Okay, never say die.
Work
Okay.
all. Never say die. Work all.
Okay, Dr. Ifesinachi.
Overcome anything. When they say something is difficult, then that they've just called your name. So you want to see why that thing is difficult.
Yeah. Okay, Dr. Ifesinachi, the same question to you.
I think this is not really restricted to women alone. This is also for the men.
Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
you could have a knowledge, but you don't know how to communicate that knowledge. Because depending on what you do. So imagine a scenario where your area of expertise is research, and research, of course, needs to then be communicated to the community, to the policymakers, for them to consider how to implement it. And you don't have good communication skills, you don't have good writing skills. For any sector, I think for a start, it would be nice for us to sort of get into the culture of sharing what we know, because you never really know who is reading, and also be very confident in sharing what you know, especially when it is evidence based. I will speak from the perspective of the work that I do. I feel that for any young person that is listening, that is interested in going into the maritime sector, you need to be able to market yourself. Because in a world where there are billions of people, and in a continent where there are a million others that are looking for jobs, you need to be able to market yourself to be able to get into different positions, or even get the job that we're saying that potentially it's there in the maritime sector. So being able to sort of tell people, articulate what you do, is a skill that I feel is very important for everyone, not just the women.
Okay, thank you very much for your answer. Obinma, I will let you continue and finish.
It has really been a brilliant time with you, madams. Dr. Ifesinachi, thank you so much for honoring this event. Thank you, madam. When I met with you last year, November, I was like, the world needed to hear you. You know, guys, I was in a conference with her, and when I heard her speak and how she explained the industry, I was like, the world needs to know what you do. I think I spent a whole week thinking about Madam McFord, and I thought I was going to call her and speak to her, but I was like, okay, I was going to be in an event with her, so I'll have the chance to speak to her and speak with her. And we spoke, and I told her all the dreams in my heart for her. I don't know how a person stays and start dreaming about one person. That's so much. So that was actually the experience I got, and because I knew she has so much to give to the world. She has so much to give to the younger generation, and a lot of people are waiting to know your person. Thank you so much, ma'am, for honoring this event. Madam Gina, she's not here, but we really appreciate her for coming by and coming by this outing with us. And we really enjoyed your presentation to this particular topic, this brilliant topic, and a lot of people are revealing this broadcast. And I know that we have given it the best of the time we needed to and the best of knowledge we could share to the world. And we really, Maritime Africa, really appreciate you. And I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone that is listening to this broadcast. And if you have gotten anything, please let us know what you've gotten. If you need an answer to a question, please let us know. If you want the contacts of the people you're seeing on the screen, please let us know. We're ready to assist as many as need to be assisted to get you their dream place in the industry. And for MeetPoint, I think I'm going to be taking up several initiatives to ensuring that the next generation or the younger generation gets to wherever they want to get to. I'll take that as a personal project to ensuring that a lot more is being done in the industry. Thank you once again, Maritime Africa. Thank you, madams. Thank you so much for your time. And we have come to the end of this broadcast.
Okay, goodbye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.